Hey, everybody. Welcome to our next guest speaker session in MKT 355 Sports Selling and Sales. I'm excited to have our next guest, Ryan Koos, who is a St. Joe's grad, who's now working as a coordinator of growth marketing for Comcast Spectacor slash Philadelphia Flyers. So I'm really excited to have him back, speaking to you just to tell you a little bit about his role, how it relates back into sales. And, I kind of, we've talked a little bit about the idea that you can work directly in sales roles, or you can help support the different sales initiatives. And I think Ryan sort of fits into that category, but I'm excited to hear about what he's doing at the Flyers. And so please welcome Ryan Koos.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Said I'm Ryan, work with the Flyers and Comcast Spectacor, and our growth marketing efforts, which I'll kind of get into about what that means and everything. Um, but yeah, I graduated St. Joe's in 2023, so approaching 2 years in this role. I'm on my second season with the Flyers, which is crazy to say at this point. But it's been nothing but fun and a good time. So definitely can't complain. Um, I give you a little bit of my background, kind of how I got to this role, and then I'll talk about what coordinator growth marketing entails. And then again, as Professor Lutz mentioned, relating that back to how that all fits in sales and generating revenue for the organization. Um, so I started out as, first off, I did an internship with the Lancaster Barnstormers, which is now the Lancaster Stormers. Um, just after the COVID lockdown stuff eased up, essentially working in minor league baseball. It's independent league, but about the same environment, doing pretty much everything on game day. The beauty of minor league sports is that you get experience in everything. So I did grounds crew, sponsorship fulfillment, marketing, um, game day activations. I did bat boy for a game. Like I was everywhere. Put in a lot of hours, got to do some really cool stuff, and learned a lot about what I like and don't like. So I took that going forward, kind of figuring out where I wanted to go, working along with just general networking efforts that I was doing, working with Professor Lutz, working with Dr. Allen, also in the marketing department, trying to just make as many connections as possible. I ended up landing an internship in the spring of my senior year with the Flyers, working under another fellow Hawk, Kelly Barnes, if any of you have met her. I know she's pretty active in the alumni community, so there's probably a good chance you have. Um, there I did a lot of the intern work for marketing, all sorts of game day stuff. I was selling kids club packages, um, counting out giveaways and doing inventory and all there. A lot of research on initiatives that we could be doing. And in that time, our organization went through a pretty significant change in leadership and structure. Um, we named Dan Holferty, who coincidentally another Hawk, as the CEO and now chairman. Our hockey operations staff completely turned over. We brought in a new GM and split the GM and hockey operations roles into two different roles. So Danny Breer came in as GM. Keith Jones, both former Flyers players, came in and took the role of president of hockey operations. On the business side, our chief business officer left, our president and CEO left. One of them landed at SeatGeek. Another one, I believe she's still doing consulting for a bunch of different industries. We brought back in a new chief revenue officer who had worked with the Flyers and Global Spectrum, which was a subsidiary of Comcast Spectacor for a while, to lead the business operations. And that really changed everything that we were doing. a lot of how we were approaching it, trying to get back to the flyers that people knew and loved. So with that, I was able to stay actually in a part-time role, overseeing our grassroots efforts. So basically everything that you would expect in doing community events that wasn't directly a community relations role. This was more from a marketing and sales aspect, where we were going out and planning participation in all sorts of different street festivals, events, things like that in and around Philadelphia. I got the opportunity to oversee our team and plan all that and manage a budget that was the first budget I had really overseen. So that was an interesting time. And in the middle of all that, I was able to, I was asked to stay on as a full-time coordinator in growth marketing, still overseeing our grassroots efforts, growing our database by going out to these events, providing incentives for people to sign up for our newsletter. And then also overseeing a bunch of different duties within the marketing department. And it kind of leads me to where I am now. My role boils down into a couple different aspects. So one is still that grassroots marketing program that we run. We currently do that in the summer. So we're already having conversations about what that looks like this upcoming summer, working with our community relations department and our corporate partnerships department to figure out some of the events that we're obligated to do, that we're contractually obligated to do and have a presence at. How can we assist in that? As well as how can we augment our data collection efforts, just so the marketing department can grow our contacts and work on selling single game tickets. I also assist with our NIL program. So we actually have a roster of about, I want to say right now it's 34, 35 athletes across schools in the area, D1, D2, D3. And we provide them with NIL deals in exchange for them promoting various events that we have at the arena. So not just the Flyers, but our concerts and Wings games, which is our lacrosse team, and things like that. So myself and my manager split the roster. I've got about 15. She's got about 15. I also do email marketing. So this is where we'll be able to tie it back into sales partially, which I'll get to. But I do a lot of our event invites, form management, pretty much any form and data collection that we have. It's something that's built by me. If you ever fill out a form for the Flyers, for Wells Fargo Center, enter a sweepstakes, anything like that, 99% of those are stuff that I touch. So I focus a lot on reducing fatigue in people filling out those forms. If you're presented with a giant form, sweepstakes entry or an RSVP form or something like that, you're more likely to not fill it out just because there's so many different questions in it. So we strategize about, what's the minimum amount of information that we need to build this form? What's the goals of this form? That for events, are there any parameters that people need to know, such as a limit on how many people can RSVP, things like that. I do our Kids Club newsletters. I run the Kids Club program. So I went from selling it in its second year to completely overseeing the structure of it in its fourth year now. We completely overhauled it this year to where it used to be a two-tier program. One was $35 and one was free. Now it's completely free. We've grown our membership significantly in doing that. And the value proposition there is that each month members are going to get all sorts of ticket offers and fun activities and things like that we work with various other departments to put together. I do our group sales newsletter, so assisting with our group sales initiatives, which we have the top selling groups program in the NHL, which we're very proud of. Basically, we put together all sorts of different things that they're working on each month, put it in a newsletter so that our email subscribers that are interested in groups, whether you're The chair of a youth hockey program, whether you just have a ton of friends that want to go out and catch a game, whether you're part of any sort of special interest group and things like that. This is a way for you to get information about special ticket packages that we have for groups, any recognition during the game that you can get. I believe the most recent one we highlighted was halftime recognition. You get to come down during the Philadelphia Wings game onto the turf during halftime, and they'll announce you, and you guys can get photos and stuff like that. So that's the type of stuff that we highlight in that. And then lastly, as I mentioned in the very beginning, I think only a couple of you guys were on, is I now oversee our giveaways and promotional nights. So this leads into our sales efforts for single game tickets about, how can we get more people into the arena? So when you come to a game and get that cool tchotchke that we're handing out at doors, that's something that I oversee, starting with our partners, figuring out who is obligated to have a giveaway, who might not have a contractual obligation, but we're looking to add some value to them, to the deal, and just kind of be a good partner with them. From just an internal perspective, what types of giveaways do we want to do for our efforts that have no sponsor attached to it? We go through the whole planning phase, figuring out what we want to give away, what milestones are coming up, things like that we can kind of all tie together. And then I'll work with a few different vendors that we partner with to get these items made, make sure that they're up to spec, make sure that everybody internally and externally is comfortable with them, that sponsors approve of it, that our leadership approves of it, budget management and all that fun stuff, getting it delivered to the arena, and working with our operations team to keep track of that and store those and all the fun logistical stuff that comes with it, to working with our marketing promotions assistant team, who Noah is a part of here, along with 64 other people. It's a pretty big team, working with those people to distribute these giveaways. So it's a fun challenge. It's a new challenge. Various different things have come up that I never thought I'd have to think about before. All these discussions about tariffs, when the ports were on strike last year, that was something that we had to navigate and all that fun stuff. So it's definitely a lot of things I never thought I'd have to think about. But that's really my current role in a nutshell. From a sales perspective, I work on our marketing team, which really is single game ticket sales. That's what we're primarily focused on. But because we do all of the advertising for the arena, flyers, wings, Wells Fargo Center events, we work very closely with our sales department, inside sales, membership sales, corporate partnerships, all of that, which is obviously selling plans and contractual agreements. So primarily that comes to me in the form of mass communication. So when I'm talking about any of these event invites, if you're a season ticket holder, we guarantee that you're going to get invited to a bunch of different events throughout the year. We just announced our town hall event with Flyers leadership. That's going to happen at the end of the month. We also announced this week our Chalk Talk event, which happens with head coach John Tortorella. So these are events that season ticket holders and premium members can come and basically hear directly from leadership, from those that are making decisions, ask questions in Q&A sessions and things like that. What we'll do for sales is we'll put out an email invite and follow-up communication about that event, RSVP for it, if any updates happen to it, such as a location change, or in the event of like outdoor events, if inclement weather forces it to move to a different date, we communicate that. So that's a lot of the mass communication part. We also run various sales campaigns for them. So we just entered our renewal period for season ticket members on the Flyer side. I started with a deposit campaign for new business, basically working with our sales team to determine what do we want to highlight, what's the messaging on this. I'll work with our design team to build that campaign out, get all the graphics created, and then basically we'll turn to our analytics team, our business strategy and analytics team, to compile a list of people that we think would be good to receive this email. So in that case, with our deposit campaign, it was about 40,000 people we put together. For reporting purposes, we were able to separate it in a few different categories that we try to do and get as much insight as possible. So we built simultaneous campaigns for our inside sales team and new business team to get some insight about the lead quality of single game buyers, people that bought multiple single game tickets, as well as partial plan holders and all of that. Those were the three segments. And that was a 3 email campaign that just concluded last week. Yesterday, we did the same thing, but for on sale. So now you don't have to place a deposit. You can go in and directly buy your seats. So we did the same exact process. This is a 4 email campaign that's going to end in March. Again, working with all the same parties to reach a greater amount of people. This time it's around 100,000. But that's a lot of the mass communication part that we work with. Again, being marketing, we're kind of the eyes and the sale, and when it comes to what goes out. So we'll do a lot of proofing of stuff that sales makes, any collateral and things like that, how we're communicating it, what's allowed to be said and what's not allowed to be said. We work hand in hand with our leadership team as well as sales to make those determinations. And then again, like I mentioned, with reporting and forms and all of that, I personally can do very basic reporting through our email service provider. We can build automated reports that say how many people clicked on this email. So sales really likes that. They can see, how many people clicked on, let's say, this campaign that went out yesterday. How many people clicked on email 1 of this on sale campaign? Can we pull the clicks and can we retarget that so that we can get reps to get on the phones with them? So that's really how we assist our sales department in their initiatives and all of that.
Okay, right. So you threw a ton of stuff at us, and so
I know.
I hope everybody's sort of the hamster wheels sort of churning here, because you really gave a lot of really interesting and really good points. So I want to get into some of those as we go along here. But one of the things I did want to tell you, and I don't know if you knew this, so this cohort this semester is working with the Flyers Collegiate Sales Program. So the Jess Beer,
Awesome.
Zach Henderson, Mike Snyder. That group. So we're actually we should be actively selling Flyers tickets. So we've got a set number of games, and then they also, I think they gave us 1 or 2 Wings games that we're also trying to work with. So my question to that is, from a marketing communication side, what should the students be highlighting about the team, about the experience, about the games, when they're going out and pitching this product to their networks? Because that's really what they're doing. They're taking sort of the ideas of what you're doing at a much larger scale, and they're bringing it right down and shrinking it to who they are and their network at St. Joe's, friends, family, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think definitely, like with a team like this and the Philadelphia Wings, the Flyers and the Wings, a lot of how we communicate things, especially going back to that grassroots marketing portion, because this is exactly what myself and my team were doing, is just communicating the benefits and perks of attending these types of events. We're not necessarily touting the success of a team. Granted, the Wings are doing really well right now. The Flyers are pretty far out of playoff contention at this point. So a lot of how we communicate is not that you're going to go and, you're guaranteed to win and stuff like that. That's like fun and all. But what really drives people to go to a game is the environment, and, how can they experience something fun? Sports has really changed from something that you would go and just go and watch a game to something that becomes a full-fledged experience. If it was just about the game from a fan perspective, you wouldn't have all the bells and whistles that are in an arena and stadium and ballpark. We try to make it a very nice experience for you on the concourse and all of that. There's a lot of different things that you can do and see, and different ways that you can shop for retail and all of that fun stuff that really highlights the overall experience. So when we're communicating out about, why would I want to go to a game, a lot of it goes around the experience, the upgrades that we've done to the arena. If you had been to the arena prior to COVID, it's a completely different experience now. We just finished $400 million in upgrades. And I'm sure you guys all saw that in 6 years, we'll have even more to talk about with a completely new arena. But highlighting that, our retail spaces on the flyer side, we just unveiled the Gritty Chaos Factory, which is the only place right now that you can get a Gritty plush. We call it an itty bitty Gritty. It's like a Build-A-Bear experience. So while you don't need to highlight, those two specific things, a lot of what we do is highlighting those types of experiences. You're going to go and see a hockey game. It's completely different than seeing on TV. It's a lot more dynamic. It's a lot more fun in person. When you're going to, I know you guys aren't selling concerts, but when we talk about selling concerts, there's all sorts of different activations that you can go and see before the show starts, that we offer completely as a augmentation to your experience, rather than just showing up right at showtime and sitting down or standing up and watching the show. You can come in, you can get food, you can take pictures in front of a bunch of different photo ops that we have, and we do that across the wings and the flyer side. So that's what I would focus on when you're kind of honing in on what you want to talk about and how you sell this. You're selling the whole experience and not just the game.
Yeah, so you touched on a little bit, so I just want to make sure everyone, so because we're this week we've been talking a little bit about the importance of CRM as it relates to lead gen. And so I think you sort of hit on a little bit in terms of some of the benefits, that the sales benefits that you get out of these sort of community grassroots programs or events that you attend, but then also some of these direct marketing or campaigns that you're running. So tell us about sort of lead gen and how that sort of, what that process looks like when you own it and then have to then push to sales to then something triggers to then that's when they're going to start making calls or outbound call, emails, whatever it may be.
Yeah. For us, the first step, the first touch point is usually some sort of sweepstakes or, event or something like that, where we can really make that first impression of, hey, we're the Flyers, we're Comcast Spectacor. This is what we do. This is what we have to offer. Myself and Kelly in the growth marketing role, we strategize about all sorts of different sweepstakes and things like that. So that's kind of how we get a lot of this new data, at least from a primary side. We also get some data when you transfer a ticket and all sorts of things like that. That's another way that we grow our database. But those types of things are how we kind of generate that initial interest of, this person's interested in winning a Flyers puck. If they're interested in the puck, they might be interested in the game. So we kind of start nurturing that through some of these other campaigns that we do. And there's certain behavior and buying patterns that at that point, our analytics team says, hey, like this is probably a good candidate for us to get on the phone and start talking about some of those other possibilities. If you've been transferred tickets like 2 or 3 times, not a ton, high amounts of transfers indicate to us that you probably have a way that you're getting tickets for free, or you're sharing tickets from a plan. You're probably not a good lead for us at that point. But if you're getting 2 or 3 transfers in a season, you're attending multiple games, you might not have purchased those tickets. That says to us that maybe you'd be interested in coming out to a couple more. And that's how we try to get you on the sales elevator, if you will, about, we'll get you out to a couple more games with a partial plan, 11 games, 12 games. that's like a good stepping stone. And if you're doing that at that point, maybe you'd want to go to half season or full season. The beauty of it is you can go up and down, but that's kind of how we do that initial lead gen of getting people into our system, and then having the data to back up their trends and things like that that say, hey, maybe they would be good for this campaign. This is something that we can start to target from our inside sales team or membership sales team.
Right, Ryan, do you look at sort of the transactions that occur on Ticketmaster, the exchange, so the secondary market feature?
Yeah, so with us being on Ticketmaster now, this is our second year. Before, we didn't have access to any secondary data, just because we were partnered with Paciolan was our provider. We got very, very limited data from SeatGeek. Now it's Ticketmaster, and the exchange is the official secondary market. So we get a lot more data. If you purchase a ticket from the secondary market on Ticketmaster, we'll receive your information in some way, shape, or form. And that allows us to kind of start teasing you into certain aspects of our business. And then once you make certain, I guess, like opt-ins and things like that, you go from attending a game and making a retail purchase or something like that, we're able to loop you into the fold completely there. So definitely secondary markets become a huge addition to our business.
I shared with the students probably this week or early last week, just that was one of the biggest leads that I generated with the Eagles. Is I would pull the exchange reports through out of our ticks. I'd pull them out and just see who was buying what, where were they sitting, and what they were spending it on. And if any of those, if I could pre-qual any of those types of transactions where it says, wait a minute, this is a good fit where I can either A, get them a better seat, or B, get them better pricing.
Mm-hmm.
I now have a legitimate sort of value proposition to that prospect. So now I'm glad to hear you're doing some of that stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got about 10 or 15 minutes left. So what I want to do is I want to just kind of open it up to the group here, and then I also want to kind of wrap it up with some career advice things that kind of we've gone through, as me and you went through when you were here as a student. Now you're on the other side of things and kind of have probably a different perspective on the world and the sports industry. So let's hear from you guys. Questions for Ryan? Yeah, what you got, Noah?
So it seems like getting these partnerships and sponsors seems like a challenge in itself. When you get these sponsors and partnerships, is it a whole nother challenge to market that, or do you kind of hope, are you guys hoping that it markets itself in a way?
I mean, it is a challenge in the way that we want to make sure we're doing right by the partner. How it works, right? Our partnerships team will ink a deal, and then it comes to us to carry out those aspects of that deal. One of the things we want to do is make sure that both are getting something out of it. And so once we get through the obligations part of that, if they need to be included, if their logo needs to be included in a certain amount of emails, if they're obligated to a giveaway or something like that. Once we get through that, we can really focus on, how can we add value? What makes sense? A good example of additional value, at least in the giveaway space, is our giveaway that is happening on the 22nd. That originally was an unsponsored giveaway. It's a gritty nightlight. It's fun. It's a beast of a giveaway. I'm working through the logistics of that right now, but
can you tell us what it is or no?
Yeah, it's a nightlight. It's a gritty nightlight. It's about like 5 inches tall. It's a really good
okay
rendition of gritty, but it's first 10,000 fans, and the way that hockey fans and things like that have made it. If there's an item that security says can be thrown, we have to give it away as people are leaving the building. For a limited giveaway, like first 10,000, we don't want to incentivize people to leave early. So what we do is we give vouchers on the way in. As you exit the building, towards the end of the game, that's when you get your item.
Yeah,
Stuff like that and gritty just becomes a lot more
yeah.
difficult because
I
people are
went to the
very fervent of those.
yeah. I went to the Stein giveaway. I
Yeah.
guess last year, 2 years, and I that was the question I had going in. I was like, how are you going to give people 10,000 people an actual physical beer stein and not have problems? And that's exactly what they did. They vouchered it or couponed it on the egress. Or then you picked it up.
Yeah. And it just becomes a lot harder because of the speed and the giving away an item on the beginning of the game. You have 15 to 20,000 people coming in over the course of 2 hours, whereas people leaving, you're giving out 10,000 items in the course of like 10 minutes. It's a lot. But to that end, that was a giveaway that originally was not sponsored, but IBX, Independence Blue Cross, is a great partner of us. They partner on a lot of different things. Primarily, the jersey sponsor is theirs. So one of the things that we were looking at, the value of that partnership and what they do for us about, where are some opportunities that we can add value to that, and just keep them in the loop and all of that and get them more exposure where possible. So now they're on this giveaway as a sponsor, but that's something that they're not paying for. It's something that we're giving to them. From the marketing aspect, we're doing a lot of that, right? Like it's up to us to make sure that that stuff gets out there. It's easy for that stuff to get out there when it's something that is on the helmet or the jersey or our building naming rights. Like that stuff is very easy for it to get out there naturally just because people take photos and people are going to games or it's broadcasts and stuff like that. But when we're looking at sponsorships across emails and programs and things like that, that's up to us to really make sure that people understand that this giveaway is sponsored by Independence Blue Cross. In this email, whatever we're highlighting is presented by, partner A or something like that. So that's kind of where it becomes difficult, just making sure that everybody's okay with what we're doing and how it's presented.
Okay, good question, Noah. Anybody else? Questions? Don't be shy. Aiden, I know you got a question.
I just had a question. So basically we're working with the Flyers right now to try to sell tickets for the college ticket sales program. Do you have any recommendations or like any strategies that you might use if you were in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, again, highlighting why you would want to go to a game and not just saying like, hey, it's the Flyers. I think that's really going to make the biggest difference. And figuring out some of the stuff that's going on in those games. I'm not sure what games you guys have to sell, but looking at those, looking at our promotional schedule and any sort of things that are happening that night and saying like, hey, who are some people in my network or who are some people that are, the second and third connections in my network that may fit that and may be interested in something like that. In March, we have a lot of different things going on. We have a lot of games. It's like 7 games in 12 days. And then there's an additional few games after that. We're trying to build out all sorts of different things to make it fun and exciting to go to instead of just being a Flyers game. So taking a look at that and seeing, who in my network or again, who are those second and third level connections in my network that may be interested for whatever this game provides.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
good question, Aiden. Anybody else? Questions for Ryan? All right, so Ryan, I shared with them the story, and you probably remember this. I shared with them the story that you were sort of in their same position 2 years ago, in your last semester, spring semester here at St. Joe's, worrying about sort of what's next. And I remember you said, I got this externship with the Flyers, and should I accept it? And my feedback at the time was, there's no risk in doing it. It's only upside. And if you do a good job, they're gonna hire you right away. And if you don't, then you do it for the year, and then you have a full-time job on your resume to get you the next position. And now looking back on that sort of pathway that you've gone on, and that sort of that sort of unknown path that you were, everybody's sort of hesitant about. What would you recommend for the students now looking to get involved post grad?
Yeah. I mean, from the beginning, like if you're in your last semester, right? I mean, we're at February, realizing that your friends that are accounting majors and finance majors the industry works completely different. So if you have a lot of friends that do have a position already and you don't, like, that's okay. If you're interested in sports, it's just the nature of it. Our hiring cycles are completely different, and the competition that goes into these roles are completely different. That was something that was hard for, like, I knew, but I had a hard time accepting that, I had friends that had already, had a job by the time they started their senior year. As Professor Lutz, I mentioned earlier, that didn't happen to me until July, after I graduated. So a good 2 or so months after, I still had no clue what was going on. So in the meantime, networking as much as you can, not just for the job. I mean, everybody understands when you're having those conversations that's kind of what you're angling for. But really trying to learn as much as possible and make those connections, because you never know how that's going to help you in the end. My sophomore year was when I met my manager now, through a networking event on the St. Joe's campus. It was through the sports marketing club. I just stayed in contact, and that ended up leading me to a full-time role. So having those conversations in a wide variety of fields and talking to as many people as possible. St. Joe's is the beauty of being in Philly, and there's so many different people that come from amazing backgrounds that work at St. Joe's right now, as well as people that, just are acquainted with St. Joe's and familiar with it and things like that in the area. So just doing that as much as possible. And then going to the risk-taking part of it. It is sports. If you really want to get into it, there is an element that, something may come up and you just got to take a chance. In my case, it was thanks to great advice from Professor Lutz and a few other people I was talking to, right? It's either you take a risk now, with this part-time role or this volunteer opportunity or whatever, and nothing may come of it, and you just prolong the inevitable of you doing the job search process and all that, or something comes out of it. For me, I was doing both at the same time. Took the opportunity to work part-time while also applying to full-time roles that I could take after that opportunity ended. And I ended up not needing those full-time applications afterward, which was great. It was a pleasant surprise, but I would have ended up in the same place, whether or not I had done that, either applying for jobs at that point or applying for jobs in March and in that time frame. So if you see something, take a risk. You're young. I'm still in the phase where if I really wanted to pivot a career, I probably could. Now's the time to do it. Don't wait until you're 30 and have established background to try to make that jump.
Yeah, I don't know if it was great advice, but I was still maybe stupid enough or naive enough to do it when I was in school, and it worked out great for me. And so I was really happy to see that you took that sort of leap of faith, and it all kind of worked out for you with the Flyers, and really happy to hear you're doing well and getting really involved in a lot of really interesting and fun projects. So that's great news. So all right, well, Ryan, we'll kind of end here. If any of the students want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, I would, two things. My LinkedIn, name's Ryan Koos. Feel free to connect with me. Send me a note with the connection, just saying like, hey, I'm from Professor Lutz's class. And then my email too, if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out. It's Ryan_Koos. I'll write it in the comments, but Ryan_Koos at ComcastSpectacor.com.
Okay, yeah, and I can share with the students your contact information as well.
Cool. Yeah, feel free to do so.
Okay, well, thank you again, Ryan. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me, and yeah, we'll be in touch, and hopefully you'll see some of us down at the Wells Fargo Center soon, and yeah,
Definitely.
we'll be in touch.
Cool. Have a
See
great
ya.
day, y'all.
Thank you.